Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to be doing a full setup guide for ARMSX2 on Android to play all of your favorite PlayStation 2 games. I fully expect this video will be out of date probably by the time I even post it, but it is better to have something on this emulator than nothing. ARMSX2 is moving quickly, some might say a little too quickly with their stable releases, and things are changing rapidly, so I was trying to wait until things slow down to make this video, but it seems like that isn't going to happen, so we're getting a video. ARMSX2 is now the only option for hardcore Retro Achievements users on Android, if you want to play your PlayStation 2 games. And it is a great option for PlayStation 2 emulation all around. Don't worry, the entire video is going to be done on an Android device, so you won't need a PC for any part of today's guide. Now, a lot of people are going to be coming from Nether SX2, and you can easily export your data by opening the Settings menu, scrolling down to Transfer Data, and selecting Export. You now need to choose a folder, so just create a folder named whatever you want in your Downloads folder, and then choose that folder. It's going to pop up with a list of what it's actually going to export, which if you check it, is basically everything that you would want. Now, keep in mind that if you use save states, those will not work when transferring, so make sure that you do any in-game saves before doing this. Click yes to do its thing, and then we'll come back to this later when it's time to import. Alright, now before we actually start the setup, you are going to need PlayStation 2 games, of course. I would suggest simply creating a ROMs folder on your internal storage or your SD card if you have one, and then a PS2 folder inside of it, as that's where we're going to be putting all of our PS2 games. As far as finding the games, that is just not something that I can help with, but PS2 CHD redump in your favorite search engine will get you there. Just remember to be logged in before you download anything. You are also going to need something called a BIOS file, which is a mandatory system file to emulate PS2. The file name is ps2-0238-2008-0220.bin. This is for a USA BIOS file. If you plan on playing different regions, you will need a BIOS file for those regions. I have full faith that you know what to do with this file name. Hint, hint. As for storing it, in that ROMs folder from earlier, go ahead and create a folder called BIOS and then put it in there. Nice and easy. Now, just quickly, for those of you that are wondering why CHD instead of ISO, CHD is lossless and it saves you a ton of space. You can still use ISO if you want. CHD is just better. Let's say you have 100 gigabytes of PS2 ISOs, I can guarantee that you at least save about 30 gigabytes of that by switching to CHD. It is a massive difference with no downside. Now, if you have ISOs already and you want to convert them to CHD, I'm going to leave a link in the description to my website which goes over how you can convert even on Android. Alright, at this point, let's finally install ARMSX2. Head to the ARMSX2 GitHub in the description and download the latest release. Just grab whatever the latest is. You can see the latest tag next to the title if you're unsure. You can find the APK under the Assets section. Once you've installed it, go ahead and open it. Click Confirm, bottom right. The first thing we need to do is tell ARMSX2 where to store all of our data. And we don't want the default option of the private Android data folder, as you'll never be able to touch those files on a lot of devices. So instead, click Custom Folder and then allow permission access. Now navigate to where you want to store the data. If you have an SD card, I would suggest there, otherwise the internal storage is fine. Create a folder right on the root of either of whatever you chose, called ARMSX2. Then select Use this folder and allow. That is where all of your data will be from now on. So click Confirm, bottom right. Remember that BIOS file from earlier? We have to select it. Choose Select BIOS and then navigate to the ROMs BIOS folder that I had you create earlier. And select Use this folder and allow. If you did it right, your BIOS will now show up in the list and should say BIOS selected. Click Confirm, bottom right. Now we have to tell ARMSX2 where our PS2 games are located. Click Pick ROMs folder and then navigate to your ROMs PS2 folder and select Use this folder and allow. Click Confirm, bottom right, and look over everything we've just done and click Let's Go, bottom right. Now we're on the home page of ARMSX2 and you should see all of your games populated. Use the top right to change from grid to list and vice versa. You can also choose how to sort and some other preference related settings top right. If you ever add new games, use the refresh button so ARMSX2 can see them. Click the top left menu and now let's jump into retro achievements if you use them, and you can sign in here with your login information. I would suggest leaving all of the settings as default unless you plan on using hardcore mode, which you would enable. Now let's jump into settings. In the app tab, I personally turn off the boot animation on startup just to make things quicker. I don't touch any other performance settings. However, this is where you would make changes you would find online for any specific games that need them or aren't running well. In Renderer, we can leave this as auto, but sometimes higher end devices will want to choose Vulkan. And then if your device supports it, you can choose download to get some custom drivers. Now, Mr. Purple is usually pretty good, but this is for more advanced users that know what they're doing. You can select whatever custom driver you want to use if you know what you're doing. Most users should just stick to auto. Scrolling down, and the only change I make here is basically the upscale. Because not every PS2 game is the same internal resolution, 3x will cover pretty much all of the catalog at 1080p if that's what you're aiming for. But you do need a powerful device for that. If you have one, you can set it here, or you can do per game settings later and maybe only upscale some games. It is up to you, don't just set it to 3x if you don't have the power for it. Scroll down, and if you want to use RetroArch shaders, you can. Just click the download button and then the get on the right. Then enable RetroArch shaders and use shader preset to choose whichever shader that you want to use. Scroll down and go ahead and enable load texture packs. Even if you don't want to use them, it doesn't hurt. If your device has at least 8 GB of RAM, I would suggest enabling pre-cache texture packs as well. We are going to revisit texture packs later on. Head to audio, and one setting that I like to change to avoid messed up audio is turning on fast forward volume or turning it off. Basically, make it silent when fast forwarding as opposed to hearing these speed up sounds. This is a personal preference thing. Next, head to controls and scroll down. Depending on your controller or device, it may have automatically mapped your controls, but if not, just click each mapping and push the corresponding button on your device to map it. I usually stop at start. Scroll down and set on-screen controls to off. Head to hotkeys, and there is a few that I like to use. Menu and pause as my device's back button, or if you don't have one, L3 plus X is good. Quick save state I set as L3 plus R1. Quick load state as L3 plus L1. Fast forward toggle as L3 plus R2. Close game or close game and quit, depending on what you want to do, as L3 plus Y. Scroll the tabs to on screen, and if you want to see performance information, you can enable FPS and so on here. But we can also do this in-game in the in-game menu, so it's up to you. Scroll the tabs to patches. If you want to use cheats, enable cheats. If you want to use widescreen patches, you can enable that too. Or you can do this on a per game basis later. It is up to you. We'll come back to cheats. That is it for settings. Let's jump into memory cards. If you exported data earlier from NetherSX2, use either the import down arrow or import square icons to import your memory card from wherever you exported your NetherSX2 data. The mem cards folder is what you want. For everyone else doing this all new, go ahead and click create. Just leave the name as default, then choose folder and choose create. A folder-based memory card is the best as it has unlimited sizing for unlimited saves. If you choose a normal memory card, your saves will fill up quickly, and you're going to have to keep creating different memory cards as you go along. Make sure the memory card is set as slot 1 or slot 2 or both. On mine, it was setting as both, and that's fine. Back on the main home screen, push and hold on a game to get a new menu. And if you click settings, this is per game settings. Any settings that you change here only apply to this specific game. It is great if you need to apply certain fixes on a per game basis, upscaling, and so on. Otherwise, go ahead and launch any game by tapping on the home screen. The very first game that you load up should have the BIOS show up. And so you have to confirm your language, your time zone, your daylight savings time, and that's it. You only have to do this once. Go ahead and push your menu hotkey to get to the in-game menu. You can do a whole bunch of things here, like if you need to swap discs for any games. Otherwise, you can also use close to exit, but scroll down a bit and turn on tap to reveal pause to remove the on-screen pause icon that shows up in the top right. Scrolling down will show you your save state slots if you use them. Otherwise, there are other icons on the right that are changes that you can make on the fly. And the last icon is retro achievements to see your progress. One other thing in-game, the very first game that you ever load and you get to the memory card screen, it is going to ask you to format your memory card. Make sure you do this, it makes it usable, and then you can use it going forward. Exit the game. Let's do HD texture packs now. GBA Temp is the repository for them. You can see them all in different posts. Ratchet & Clank has one, so let's use that. These will be the same steps for any HD texture pack you find. Find and click the download link in the post. Sometimes it might be in a YouTube video that is in the post from the creator, but either way, download the pack. If this was a zip, you could import it directly in ARMSX2, but this one is a 7-zipped file, and so we need to extract it first. Using any file manager, they are all the same and they can do this, extract the 7-zip folder. Wait for the extraction to finish. Head back into ARMSX2, Settings, and the Renderer tab, scroll down to the Texture Pack section, and now choose Import Texture Pack folder. Then select that exported folder, which should be the game ID, and choose Use this folder. To check that texture packs are working, enable Texture Pack OSD in Renderer. This will show replaced at the top right the entire time. So only use this to check that your texture pack is actually working, and then you can come back here and turn it off. Once done, go ahead and open that game, and you should see a textures loaded notification top right. Let's tackle cheats next. It's easiest to do this from the game. So open a game, and then the in-game menu. Then the settings icon on the right, and then patches and cheats. Click Find Patches and Cheats for this game, and you should see a whole bunch. Just select whatever you want, and then install selected. Restart the game to use them. If you found none, you can import your own. Gamehacking.org is a great site for cheats, and on whatever game page, make sure you select the pnash format, or panache, however you want to say it. And you should also change it to checked, not all, when downloading. If you leave it as all when you import it into ARMSX2, all the cheats will be enabled by default right away. You also need to make sure that you are grabbing the right cheats for the right version of the game. Match the serial numbers. So in ARMSX2, if you're in the game, you're going to see it in the menu top left. Then click the plus icon top right, navigate to the panache file, and select it to import it. Enable or disable the cheats as you like. Last for today is where is all of your data. And it's exactly where we set it up earlier on, when we did the setup in the beginning of the video, which, if you followed my instructions, would be a folder called ARMSX2 on the root of the internal storage or your SD card. For those of you using SyncThing, I haven't seen any issues with just syncing the entire folder, especially since there's a few setting files that are inside the folder itself. Otherwise, that's all there is to ARMSX2 in setting it up, configuring it, and getting you ready to play some games. We went over everything and anything that I could personally think of, and you should be able to do anything that you want in ARMSX2 now using today's guide and the different timestamps. Don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about retro gaming, and hope you all have a good one.